Magandang gabi sa ating lahat. Welcome to our daily devotion. At ngayong gabi, pagbubulay-bulay natin o pag-aaralan natin ang talata mula sa Proverbs chapter 3 verse 9 to 10. So ang paksa natin ngayong gabi ay pinamagatang honoring God with our first fruits. So sabi dito, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Sa Tagalog, sabi, parangalan mo ang Panginoon sa pamamagitan ng iyong kayamanan at ng pinakamainam na bahagi ng lahat ng iyong ani. Sa gayon, mapupuno ng ani ang iyong mga bodega at taapaw sa bagong alak ang iyong mga pisaan ng ubas. So bago tayo dumako sa katuruan sa paksa natin, ano nga ba muna yung background sa pinagbubulay-bulayan natin. So yung Proverbs is a book of wisdom literature in the Old Testament. So traditionally attributed to King Solomon, so known for his wisdom. So the book contains sayings and teachings that offer practical advices on how to live a godly, wise, and morally upright life. So the primary aim is to provide guidance on how to make wise decisions and live in a way that honors God. So, diba, sabi dito, honor the Lord with your wealth. Diba? With the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. So this passage emphasizes honoring God with our material possessions. So in ancient Israel, bringing the first fruits of the harvest to God was a way to acknowledge Him as the provider and to show reverence and gratitude. So the first fruits offering were the initial and best portion of the harvest, given as an offering to God. So this act symbolized the acknowledgement that all produce and prosperity come from Him. So it was a way of putting God first in their lives and their economic activities. So the promise attached to this command is that God will respond to their generosity with abundance. It suggests that honoring God with their wealth leads to His provision and blessing, filling their barns and vats to overflowing. So for contemporary believers, so this passage teaches us the principle of prioritizing God in our finances and acknowledging Him as the source of all blessings. So while the specific practice of offering first fruits may not be directly applicable, the underlying principle of giving generously and sacrificially to honor God remains relevant. So it encourages believers to trust in God's provision and to live in a way that reflects their faith and dependence on Him. So yung katuruan natin dito, una is first fruits as voluntary sacrificial giving is the first portion of our income. So yun nga, yung concept ng first fruits originates from Old Testaments, diba? Nabanggit ko kanina, where the Israelites were instructed to bring the first and best portion of your harvest to the Lord as an act of worship and gratitude. So today, it symbolizes giving the portion of our income to God, acknowledging Him as the source of all blessings. So siya daw ang Diyos, diba? Siya yung source natin talaga of our blessings. So we need to give back to Him, diba? Because He gave all our blessings. We gave all the blessings that you have right now. So first fruits as voluntary sacrificial giving honors the Lord. So when we give our first fruits, we are honoring God by putting Him in our financial priorities. So it demonstrates our recognition of His sovereignty and our gratitude for His provision. So first fruits as voluntary sacrificial giving can be one of the means to receive blessings from God. Diba? Kung ikaw ay nag-offer, mas pagpapalain ka nga, gaya sinasabi. Mas maraming pagpapala ang mapupunta sa iyo kung nagbibigay ka, di ba? if you voluntarily give or you voluntary sacrifice, no? So, kung voluntary mo itong ginagawa, mas ibabalik sa iyo ng sagana at nag-uumapaw pa yung blessings nga, di ba? So, our application here is, first is practice sacrificial giving as a way of thanking and honor God. So, make it a habit to give the first portion of your income to God as an act of worship and thanksgiving. So, this practice shows that we prioritize God above all else and recognize His hand in all our provisions. Second is practice sacrificial giving as a way of being a channel of God's blessing. So by giving generously, we become conduits of God's blessings to others. So our sacrificial giving can support church ministries, missions, and aid to those in need, thereby extending God's love and grace to our actions. So third is practice sacrificial giving as a way of showing that we trust God to provide our needs. So trusting God with our finances means believing that He will take care of our needs even when we sacrificially. It's a powerful declaration of faith, affirming that what our security and provision come from Him, not our material possessions. So our discussion here is, so why should we practice voluntary sacrificial giving as an expression of our trust in God? So first is acknowledging God's sovereignty. So by giving sacrificially, we acknowledge that everything we have comes from God. It's a practical way of putting our faith into action, demonstrating our belief that God is the ultimate provider and sustainer. Second is building faith and dependence. So sacrificial giving builds our faith and dependence on God. It reminds us to rely on His provision rather than our resources, fostering a deeper trust in His faithfulness and care. Third is experiencing God's provision. So when we give sacrificially, we position ourselves to experience God's provision in unique ways. So it opens our eyes to His miraculously work in our lives, strengthening our faith and testimony. Fourth is impacting others for Christ. So our generosity can have a profound impact on others. It reflects the love and generosity of Christ, drawing others to Him and demonstrating the practical outwork of the gospel in our lives. So practicing voluntary sacrificial giving is a powerful way to honor God, express our gratitude, and build our faith. So it reflects our trust in His provision and our commitment to His kingdom. So as we give our first fruits, we align ourselves with God's purpose and open ourselves to His blessings, both spiritual and material. So let us strive to give generously and joyfully, knowing that our giving glorifies God and extends His love to others.